Hey guys! Sorry for the bit of delay here. We were having some technical difficulty getting connected to YouTube, but I think we made it. So, does everything look good, Justin? Oh, cool. Awesome. Everybody can hear me. I cannot see the YouTube chat, but hopefully everybody can hear me there. Okay, no, you're good. Alrighty. Well, I have got Kevin right here, busy at work, doing some stuff.
Hello.
Tracing some leather. So when we were in Dallas here back in January, Kevin said, "You know what I think would be awesome? I think I'd like to do a video on inverted carving." And I said, "That sounds like a lovely idea. I'll put it on the calendar." And so that's what I did. So we are here. Kevin's got this ancient Al Stolman book called Inverted Leather Carving. It's been well used. It's crispy. It's done. It's cooked. It actually looks kind of like a piece of leather that's aged in the sun for a while. In any case,
it's older than the hills.
It's older than the hills. That's impressive. I didn't know they were printing things before the hills.
Older than Denny.
There it is. There's a chat.
You get it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Is it anything showing up here?
I have 3 comments.
Okay, I have none, so I'll just make sure.
Okay, yeah. Alrighty, well, if you've commented before these 2 Michael Seeger and Jeff Clarity comments on YouTube, I apologize for whatever reason. Our chat is being weird. But we are doing stuff, and then Kevin is tracing. So he found a beautiful rose pattern, which I feel like someone had asked about a few weeks ago, and Denny said, "I don't do roses." And so I thought it was perfect that Kevin chose to do a rose for our video. So we're going to do some inverted leather carving on a rose today. Kevin, what does that mean?
Well, inverted carving it's just simple. It just means you push everything down in instead of like you normally would, you push everything down around. So that's about it. It's really not all that complicated.
So instead of beveling on the outside of the line, you're beveling on the inside of the line?
Kind of pretty much. That's mostly about it.
Okay.
And inverted carving is not something that's, it's just not seen very much. It kind of made a little thing way back in the day, sort of, so to speak. But inverted carving really works well on the flesh side of leather. And that's where it kind of got a thing going on saddles back sometime in the past. And that was when people made rough out saddles. They still do, but not as much so anymore. And you can of course get it wet and carve it just like any other style of carving that you want to do. And inverted carving looks pretty cool.
Yeah, so what, like from the picture that I'm looking at here, there's no backgrounding.
No, there doesn't have to be.
Okay.
There can be.
Mm-hmm.
There's no rules here, nothing written in stone. Last one of these I carved was a lot of years ago, because my wife-to-be at the time wanted a rose. She liked roses a lot, put it that way. And so not being able to get a real one and ship it a long ways across the country easily at that time, I just made her one out of leather. That was easy, and I'm not terribly creative, and it worked quite well, and so there. So now I had hoped I would have all this dumb tracing done before we started.
Well, you're getting there.
Yeah, I am there. And, tracing with things like this, you kind of want to lift up your tracing film every now and then to see how you're doing. And if you got any places that you missed, you might want to go back and sort of touch base with those. Okay, I think that I've kind of got
Most of it?
Well, I think so. And now we just have to cut the pattern in. with inverted carving, especially on roses, there's a lot of things you don't have to actually cut.
Okay.
So, whoosh, 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 whoosh. It's sharp. It was sharp before. I hope I've got enough water in this. I really sprayed it down pretty heavy before I started tracing. And off we go.
So regale us with stories of inverted leather carving shenanigans.
Well, I don't really have a whole lot of stories to regale anyone with.
You have so many stories to regale us with.
Well, as far as inverted carving goes, I really don't. But I did a bunch of it for a while because it was unusual. And when something's unusual, you know, it has a tendency to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So back when I was doing leather work and trying to sell it, I would take the patterns out of the How to Carve Leather book. And they had a little series. I think they had, a trillium flower and a rose, and then of course they had the ever popular oak leaf, and they did them all inverted, or at least Mr. Stolman did, and I liked them, so I just started doing them, putting them on the front of handbags and putting them on belts and things like that, and it seemed to work. And it's kind of nice because you just don't see that kind of thing very often today.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to turn your leather around. I learned that early on, because as soon as you start getting lazy and trying to make your swivel knife go in a direction that you want it to go, but you know you should turn the leather, but you just don't for whatever reason. In my case, it's because I have a tendency to get lazy. And make sure you have if you're going to do something, if you're not an artist, which I am not, then make sure you have your photo carved pattern or something that you can look at to help you to appreciate just exactly what you need to cut and what you don't need to cut. And as with any other Western style or figure carving, there's some things that you just don't need to cut as deep as others. So you want to be aware of that. Some things aren't going to get much more than beveled. And in that case, you don't want to be cutting super hard. So flippity twist is what I do.
So what sections of this rose would you not cut in as deep as maybe others?
That's all determined by your photo carve pattern.
Okay.
So you have to look, and you can see, and after a while you can kind of tell. The more experience you get with leather carving in general, you can just tell what parts should not be cut really deep and what parts should be cut plenty deep, so you can smack the fire out of them and get some really good depth.
No, we are carving on the grain side of leather. We are not carving on the flesh side. But Kevin was saying that inverted leather carving started as a flesh side carving technique.
Yeah, and if you see something that you might have missed, just lay your pattern on there and go back. I don't think I really missed anything there. Just didn't connect a tiny little spot on my pattern. And boy, it surely does help to have a sharp swivel knife. Oh my gosh, I cannot begin to tell you. Yeah, there's a line that I missed. Now we're just going to put it in there. It doesn't look overly complicated. And on a rose, nothing's really overly complicated anyway. You can make a lot of lines there, and you can kind of fake things pretty easily.
Facebook just isn't letting me go live, so it's not ideal.
That's
Too
okay.
good for
A lot of people might not realize that, but most things on a rose can be fixed if you happen to make a mistake. Of course, it's always a lot handier if you just don't make mistakes.
Yeah. Heath, rough out carving is definitely a thing. You can look at pictures of rough out saddles. Denny has done a couple videos on rough out carving that you could check out on our YouTube page, but definitely a thing. People have been doing it for a long time. And yeah, you can see it.
One of the things too is when you start doing things like this from a pattern that you've had to trace, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I don't trace really well. I have a tendency to want to be a perfectionist, believe it or not, and it's not going to happen. So, tracing the lines perfectly, if you can do that, more power to you. I cannot, so I don't worry about it. I just fix things with the swivel knife as I go, and that is something that you can do as long as you have a sharp swivel knife, and as long as you train yourself to be a little bit observant. You don't have to be a lot observant, but a little helps quite a bit. And once we get to the leaves on this thing, you'll appreciate that, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to see how you fill in the detail on the leaves there, because you're not cutting them in.
No, I'm not. I'm just gonna.
He's got the tip of the leaf and then the base of the leaf where it needs to come back together, but he's leaving the center out where the edges are serrated.
Right. So we're gonna come back and do those hopefully well. And roses kind of have those little pokey things on them.
Those thorns?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to put those on here too, and that's something that's kind of handy because a thorn isn't really all that complicated. Did I miss another line?
So, Kevin, I don't know how much of an opinion you have on it, but when it comes to a hollow ground blade versus a straight swivel knife blade, do you have a preference? Do you have any tips on which is better for what circumstance?
Really, if the blade is sharp, it just doesn't matter a whole lot. But, yes, I do have a preference. Preference is a hollow ground blade. Why? I have no idea. The idea behind a hollow ground blade is that
Here, right here.
since it's hollow ground, the cuts will be flared open a little bit more. I've never really seen that to be a thing. Now it probably would be a thing if you're tooling on saddle skirting and you're wanting to tool really deep, because that leather is, of course, much thicker, and by the time you get your blade down into that thickness of leather, then I can see where the cuts would actually flare out and become wider, thereby making a hollow ground blade something desirable for a saddle carver, a saddle tooler. And if you think about it, most, not all, but a great deal of what we know as leathercraft today kind of evolved from saddle making. Not all of it, of course, but a lot of it, especially in this country. So that's just kind of my take on a hollow ground blade. I really like them. I really like the one I have. It's just probably I don't know how old it is, quite old I'm sure, but it seems to polish up nice, hold its edge, and that's what counts for me.
And that's a 3/8 blade?
Yes,
That's what
and
it
you
looks
can
like.
probably see, well, I hope you can see, boy, this thing just travels smooth. I have not had to sharpen it at all. And there's a little place where my lines here were kind of not traced as happily as they could be. So we just kind of fake it there. Happy days.
Look at that. And she's cut.
Got a rose.
It is very bright. I don't know what button to push to make it not bright, but.
Well, anyway, then comes the easy part. Tooling it. Whoa. Oh, I bought coarse ground bevelers. Well, how about that? We'll just use them. If I'm a little sniffy and snarfy today, there's a reason for that. It's spring in the Ozarks.
Which means it's 30 degrees and then 60 degrees and then 30 degrees and then 50 degrees and then 14 degrees and then 40 degrees.
Well, it also means a whole bunch of rain.
Yeah.
Now, in inverted carving, it sounds kind of simple to say, and it is simple to say, that a lot of the stuff gets pounded down in rather than pounded around. And you got to be a little bit careful of that, because some stuff has to be tooled in a normal manner. Others do not. Some things it kind of matters. Some things it kind of does not. But depending on the kind of person you are, you might want to just keep that in mind. Like this leaf right here, this bottom leaf, it needs to be behind another one. So you got to push it down. Same as this. I guess maybe the best way to think about it is think of it as tooling leather within a frame. Well, that's maybe not the best way to put it. But that's what it amounts to. You're tooling leather within a frame. You're still placing things in front of and behind other things, and that's what requires thought. That's kind of the hard part for a lot of people.
So Michael asked, have you ever done an inverted and non-inverted side by side?
Sure.
That
As a
would be
matter
kind
of
fun.
fact, when you do inverted carving, that's kind of exactly what you're doing. Because as the farther along I get in this, you're going to see that parts are inverted and parts are just like normal carving. That's kind of the way it is. Sorry about my hands being in the way most of the time. But as you can see here, when I come up, well, hopefully you'll be able to see, like on these little branches, a leaf gets hooked to a branch, and that's a place where you have to push the leaf in back of it. So you can't really invert. You can't carve that in an inverted manner. So it believe me, it does take some thought and some focus, which kind of scared me a little bit because this is the first one of these roses I've done in a long time. Matter of fact, quite a long time. Like probably 40 years or so.
So just like a minute or two.
It's been a minute.
So everybody, Tony is on the road today, headed to umpire a game in Iowa or Illinois. He'll be mad at me. He told me last night. It's 4 hours there, 4 hours back, but he'll be back tomorrow for live shopping. Don't you guys worry.
Huh. Oh, well, I was thinking maybe I'd get to do some of this simple stuff before we got started. But it didn't work out. So it's not a big deal. We'll just get it. One thing, I was always good at beveling fast. Kinda.
Well, you do pretty much everything fast.
No, I don't.
Do you garden slowly?
My idea of gardening is buy a plant and tell Becky, hey, why don't you put this over there? Sometimes it works. Other times I get the standard response, why don't you put it over there? You know how to work a shovel. I like to see how far I can get. Tell her I forgot. Could you give me a refresher? Sometimes that works. Well,
So what tool are you using right now?
I am using a coarse beveler. It's a 198.
198, a B198.
Yeah, I don't hardly ever use a coarse beveler. But I think I grabbed this one
I really like the texture that it gives you on the
Because of
inside of the
the-
pattern.
Yeah, I kind of do too. I did because of the size.
Mm.
This is the size of the beveler that I wanted.
It is also what is suggested in the ancient book of Al Stolman.
Huh?
198.
Well, how about that? Well, actually, this is a 198C,
Oh,
and yeah, a C.
as in coarse.
Yes. Okay. Seems like I could put a line there. Maybe not. Anyway, like I said, you can do things that you can cover up later if you need to. And with that particular line that I just beveled, half of it was beveled on the inside, half of it was beveled on the outside. So it does take a little bit of focus if you're going to do something like that. Al Stolman had a whole series of doodle pages that were carved in inverted fashion, and some of you guys that have been doing this for forever and a day, you might have some of those. You might not even know you have them. One of the perks of being here at Springfield Leather and being in the leather business for so many years, I've had a lot of customers that over the years they just, they got to where for one reason or another they had to stop doing leather work. And a number of them were, pretty good customers over the years. I got to know them really well. And they would bring me in all their stuff. Gosh, I got doodle page donations, and
We have a whole bucket full, like one of those plastic totes that you put all your random stuff that you don't need in your house to put in your attic,
yeah,
full of doodle pages.
yep. And then old books. A lot of people don't realize how nice it is to have those old books, because books, the Leathercraft books have changed over the years. And the Tech Tips book is one of those that changed.
Mm-hmm.
And they just reduced the number of pages, I think, to save money. And I've still got the old ones at home, which is where that original, I shouldn't say original, it's where the pattern is for that bird that I do every once in a while.
Oh, okay.
And the pattern itself, which I haven't seen in a number of years, is really nice. And it's a lot bigger than the little thing that I do on the trading cards. And I do really want to do that again. I'd like to do a bigger one. So again, this is one of those places where we're doing stuff on the inside and on the outside. Going around this rose bud, I do half of it on the outside to push stuff away from it, half of it on the inside, so that it stays with the theme of inverted carving.
Alan wants to know why you use a mallet versus a maul.
You know, I really don't know. I'm It's a very good question, and a lot of people will tell you all the reasons that they like one or the other. I guess the reason I use a mallet is because that's what I grew up with. I couldn't afford one of those high dollar mauls back in the day. So this is what I use. And I just got used to it. And that's it. Kind of like it.
Do whatever works best for you, Alan.
Well, it's kind of what it amounts to, really. Because there's so many people that will tell you that, you know, it's better to use a maul for this and for that. And it's probably true.
There we go.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I got you. You're good.
Okay, there we go.
It's probably true. It's probably better to use this or that. For me, it's just not too critical. And let's see, I should probably put a cut there, I guess.
The drawer full of rocks, aka Stephanie, which is really appropriate, Stephanie, seeing how Kevin always has a drawer full of rocks somewhere, probably. She's new and she's really confused just about the difference between inverted carving and regular carving. And I think the biggest difference is when it's inverted, you are beveling inside the line. So like anytime if you were to watch all of the series that Denny did on his beginner and advanced classes of Sheridan tooling, he's going to do just the opposite. He's going to bevel on the side of the line that touches the background always.
Yeah, see, I don't know if you can see that little spot right there. Right there is a place where this leaf or this petal is on top of this one. Mm-hmm. So I've been pushing all the leather down, but on this one I'm going to push it in that one spot so that it looks like this is behind this.
Right, and we did it here too.
Yes.
So right here, you guys can see he beveled. Yeah.
I don't know where to put this thing. But anyway, that's how it works. There's not a lot of difference between inverted carving and regular carving.
Yeah, we have on this side, we beveled on the outside of the line, and
Yep.
then you switched and then started beveling on the inside of the line here. So in regular tooling, you would have only beveled the outside, not the inside like we've done here.
Yeah. The thing that appeals to people about, well, most people, about finished leather work, they all say the same thing. Wow, look at that. And they feel it because it's been raised up. Well, it hasn't been raised. The
Everything's
leather's
been
been
lowered.
pushed down around the design so that it looks raised up. It might take you a minute to get your head around that. I don't know. But anyway, with inverted carving, it's kind of the opposite. You're pushing the pattern down into the leather so that the pattern is left appearing to be raised, but it's raised down in. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't make sense at all. But you'll see the difference when I kind of get a little further along here and get done.
When he's further along and done, we'll see it. Yeah, Mary, one of these days we'll do the large bird. I'm excited about that too.
Yeah, that
Do you
was.
need the doodle page for that, Kevin? For the pattern?
Well, I'm gonna
Do I need to spend some time and find it?
You know, once I see something, I have a tendency to remember. But if I don't see it in a long time, I have a tendency to forget. So I need to take a look at it again to realize what I need to do different. And we're just kind of getting there here.
Yeah, you're the beveling king.
Well, and this isn't going to be perfect by any means, but hey, it'll be okay.
Michael was asking, do you not want to use a steep beveler for inverted tooling?
Sure, I would.
Is it?
If I'd have had them, I'd have got them. I would have used them. You know, I like those steep bevelers.
I like the look of this though. It is, you know, a lot of times Denny, he uses either a smooth or very, very fine checker, and you can't really see the detail and the texture, and you can really see this detail and texture, and I think it looks awesome.
Well, I do too. And I mean, not to oversimplify, well, maybe I am, but I mean, think about it. It's why they made the stupid tool.
Yeah.
Is because it looks okay. And they made bevelers that are smooth. They made bevelers that are aligned. They made bevelers that are checkered, and everything. They made bevelers that are steep, and some that are kind of flat. And that's just okay, because it's whatever you like. You know, we in the leather world tend to get compartmentalized a little bit. We tend to allow ourselves to be compartmentalized a little bit by other people. And by the type of work they do, perhaps they have a skill level that's greater than ours, so we think theirs is the right way to do it. Well, that's just not the case. I mean, they may do something and get wonderful results. It doesn't make it right.
Right.
It just makes it the way that they do it. And, you know, I don't know, if I sit down and set my mind to it, I can still do pretty good leather work. But I have to be careful, you know. I don't do leather work every day. Wish I had the time. Got other stuff to do. But when I do take my time and focus, then I can avoid making a lot of the little snafus and such that are probably going to be visible in this, or maybe they won't be, and that's okay. I hope you can't see them.
It looks pretty good to me so far.
But I can still do pretty good leather work when I so choose. A lot of that has to do, thank you, a lot of that has to do with the swivel knife and the cuts that you make. So if you're careful, well, we're getting there, kinda, sorta.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Kinda went around that one in a funny way. Oops. Actually,
Yeah, look at that rose come to life, guys. That looks awesome. We've got a piece of 7 to 8 ounce Herman oak here.
Yeah, you can really tell, boy, because it just flat out carves nicely. Do need a little bit smaller beveler for some of this stuff. Some areas inside the rose. Let's see here. I better go that way.
So I guess one question that I have with inverted leather, this carving method, I feel like it's prone to not be. You can background some parts of it, but
Sure
if
you
you do, if you try to background it like you would do regular carving, you're gonna lose the
Right.
detail because it's
Right.
not. It's the background. I think is supposed to be raised. And so somebody was asking, like, when you mix the two styles, if you were to mix inverted and regular, how do you accomplish that with still making the inverted carving look like correct?
You know, you're not gonna like the answer. But I will tell you, there is no black and white answer to that question. It just isn't there, because you're carving different things.
Right.
And so the answer is try it. You're going to find out what works and what doesn't. And I mean, that may not be the answer you want to hear, but it's the right answer. That's why most leather workers that have become accomplished leather workers, they've gotten that way because they've screwed up so many times.
Because they practiced.
Yeah, and they said, well, I'm not, I like that, but I wish I wouldn't have done this, or I wish I would have done that, or the other thing. It really doesn't matter. It's just, that's the way it is. I don't know how else to tell you. You've got to make some mistakes. And just as a kind of a, I don't know if I want to do that. Just to kind of make a point about making mistakes, as a leather crafter who likes leather and enjoys doing it. We have a lot of customers that come in here and they want to buy some cheap leather to mess around on, to make some mistakes. Well, that's just the wrong way to go about it. You don't do that. You need to be able to buy some leather that's good leather, nice carving leather, so that so you don't make those mistakes as often. It's easier to do good work on good leather. It's harder to do good work on lousy leather.
Kevin was using the BW12 to go inside his petals here and lay down some of that. Do some accenting.
Yeah, and
It's
it's just,
pear shader.
where did my little guy go here? There it is. You can use this several places. Just makes your petals a little happier, I guess you can say.
We all want happy petals.
Yes, we do.
Is Antiques, is Phoebe's Antique Finish alcohol based or water based? The Antique Finish, it's water based, right? Is Antique Finish?
That's a petroleum base. If you're thinking
Okay.
about the paste,
Antique Finish.
the paste is a petroleum base. The stuff in the jars, I think they call that, antique stain, or maybe they do call it antique finish. I'm just not 100% sure. But that is I believe that's a water base. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Do you have an item number so that we can make sure that we're talking about the same item, Omar?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good.
Oh, Teresa, sometimes people will add like a leather, like you can glue a piece of leather to the shaft of your tool to make it a little bit thicker if it's too thin. I think Luna just bumped the camera, so sorry guys. Or sometimes people will get those like in school, you could get these little rubber grippers that you put onto your pencils. You can use the same thing and put it onto a stamping tool. And that will kind of thicken it to hold onto it a little bit easier if you have trouble gripping such a small tool.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Doug.
I was like, Andy has like a pencil holder for his.
Mhm.
It's the same issue.
Yeah, look at stationary supplies for pencils. That would be where I would start.
Okay, there's a leaf.
Okay, what tool are you using?
A 976.
A 976. This little, this way. This little
It's a triangular beveler.
dude. He's using that to make that.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I'm doing 2 leaves here. One to show you how to do it, and one to show you how kind of not to do it. So they're both going to be okay.
Interesting. That looks
First
good.
of all, you always go from the top of the leaf down to the bottom. Now, you don't have to do that. That will let you adapt to the curve of the leaf more easily. The next thing is to make sure you tip the tool more than you think you're going to need to. And that will help quite a bit as you go about trying to do this. If you don't tip it so much, well, it's not the end of the world, but it will make it so that it's a little harder to make it look good as you get to the end. You'll have to do some cover up and some hiding. You also tend to twist the tool just a little bit away from the leaf as you go down. And then on the other side, you twist it towards the inside of the leaf. I know that's complicated. The only way to learn how to do this is to do it. And you quickly see, boy, will you quickly see what works and what doesn't. But when you do something that doesn't work, you can still make it look okay. We're gonna do that here. Try to keep your leaves, the pokey points of your leaf about the same distance apart. And you just kind of try one. That's the only way. Get a piece of leather. Make it a good one. Carve it, and you'll find out that normally you all do one. You'll do one, and it'll look like a leaf with points sticking out sideways, and that's not the best thing. But this is where we're at so far. We've still got more to do.
Look at those cool leaves.
Well, they're not cool yet,
I think they're
but
pretty
they're
neat.
getting there. Okay,
Okay.
so then we're gonna take, let's see if I missed any beveling. I don't think I did. Oh yeah, we're gonna take that pointy little tool. I forgot. We're gonna make thorns. They were beveled, but we're just gonna make thorns. And these are not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. You can also use other tools to do that, but it does add some definition
What tool are you using to
to
do
your
that?
work. It's the same one.
It's the same. Okay.
Yep, 970. You just make the little points look a little pointier. That's really all it is. Then we're going to take a pear shader. Whoops, did I do that?
Did I do that?
No.
Can you show the book? Somebody was asking.
It's an old. They don't make this one anymore, do they?
Maybe.
Inverted Leather Carving by Al Stolman.
Oh, no, they do not make that book anymore.
Yeah. So you can look it up on eBay. You can find a friend. Go to antique stores. But Inverted Leather Carving by Al Stolman. It is. Sometimes they have numbers on them, but maybe not. But this is old.
Yeah, it is old. It's kind of a cool book. The one thing that I'm going to do some pear shading inside the leaves. You'll find that that'll get rid of some of those marks that you perhaps don't like. That particular book helped me when I was trying to make money doing this. It helped me to tell people, yeah, I can do just about anything you want on a piece of leather, because there's a page in there with everything from a basketball player to a hockey player. And granted, they're not super detailed, but they're there. If you want to lay that out and just flip through it, you can. It's kind of a messy.
Oh, maybe
little
we'll
book.
do that at the end, guys. We can just do the overhead and we can just flip through the book slowly. It does have lettering. It does have some fancy scroll work.
Yep.
It's got all the animals you could ever look for.
Yeah, some of the things are
Huh!
what?
It's got a 1910 Buick, some sort of really old car, a 1913 Stutz,
Stutz.
a 1916 Hudson, and a 1957 Ferrari outline. And an old rotary phone outline.
It's crazy, it really is. Some guy riding a bicycle in a top hat, smoking a cigarette and a holder. I mean, what kind of deal is that?
The dude in a hammock between two palm trees. Oh, some butterflies.
The butterflies are cool.
Denny
I've
could
done
have
some
used that.
butterflies.
Oh, guys, we'll show you Denny's thing too when we're done here. He finished it all up. This is from old school. Sure is.
Yeah, very old school, to say the least. Let's see, okay. Then we're going to do some decorative cuts.
Michael wants to know if you feel like if you find a tooling design, you can probably do it both inverted and regular,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
You can, no doubt. And if you don't like it, don't do it again. The little decorative cuts in the leaves go a long way towards covering things up, and you can add to those little cuts as you wish. And think of the last time you saw a leaf, which, well, maybe that's silly. Don't think about the last time you saw a leaf. Just go
Think
get
about the
a leaf.
next time you're going to see a leaf,
Yeah,
which
just
is going to be soon.
when you see a leaf, look at it. Look at the little veins in it, and then if you do anything with some leaf carving on it, then you'll know how to make those little lines. They're certainly not regular. But they're kind of squiggly, and mine are a little more regular here than what normal would be, I think.
Nope, Crystal, we started like 5 minutes late.
Yeah, technology is wonderful, except when it doesn't work.
But maybe the time did change this week. So have you missed that?
Oh, I hope not. Boy, that would be bad.
Maybe they live in a wonderful world where time doesn't matter. I would like to live in that world.
Wouldn't that be glorious? And I really, I kind of regret that I didn't have I didn't take the time to show you how much water I put into this.
You spray it down pretty good before you started?
Oh my. There's a lot of water in this piece of leather. And most people don't wet their leather enough the first time. Which, you know, I mean, you could have worse problems for sure.
I was gonna say, you talked about like tooling things, and there's a lot of, you know, you can do a lot of things when it comes to actually using the tools to put the impressions in the leather, but there are a couple standards that you always have to have, and that is the right moisture content, a stropped swivel knife,
Yeah.
and a granite slab. Those are the three things that just can't change.
That is correct. Gotta have those.
Crystal, it is 11:56 in Springfield, Missouri.
Wow. Where does the time go? It flies. Let's see. Now we're supposed to put a whole bunch of little cuts along these stems, but with all that coarse beveling, I don't know that we really need to. So I'll just put a few here. And boy, are they choppy.
You're just gonna pretend like you're hair blading without a hair blade.
Yeah, and you know, I'm just not really overly concerned with making it perfect. And that's one thing I learned a long time ago, that leather does not have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough for what you're doing. And that's kind of a thing that applies to when you're selling it. And I think we're
Look how pretty that is.
we're getting close. Getting very close.
Yeah, so this weekend our time moved forward an hour. So if it was last week, this would still be 10:57.
It's the last time for the foreseeable future too.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think they changed it.
And I guess we can just put something in there. And maybe there. And there. Not that it really needs it. I like little cuts.
Mm-hmm. And you do them very well.
Well, that's because they don't take any real serious.
This guy is gonna forever discount his leather work. Every time.
Well, they don't take any serious skill to make itty bitty cuts. And you can push them, you know.
Hey, look at that. Tangled Up found the inverted carving book on Amazon.
Cool. And there you are. Now there's areas you could background on there if you wanted to.
So if you were going to background, what
If I was, well then I can tell you.
if you were?
If I was, I would background this space between these two stems.
Okay.
I would push that down. But since you've already pushed the stems down, it means you got to push the background area that much farther down, and it really gets
Right.
challenging. It's not that you can't do it, you can, but that's an example of one space. Otherwise, I guess you could do this space here between these stems, but again, it's better to leave it, in my opinion, at least I think.
I was gonna say, I think that this, I really appreciate the contrast between the smooth leather around everything, and then the image that you have.
Yeah. Don't forget the little things. You know, when you do this type of work, it's really the little things that kind of come up and add up a lot. Like putting a few little thorn marks here and there on the wood, and it's little stuff that makes a difference. And you could do, there's another way of doing leaves, but I ain't going to show you that because it's
Because we've spent our hour.
Run out of time.
Just real fast, if you were going to color this, would you just antique and then stain it, or I'm sorry, antique and finish, or would you color it?
If I personally, Mr. Hopkins, Kevin, me, were going to do
That
this,
person.
no, I would make my rose some weird and exotic looking color. because I like to kind of do that with watered down acrylic paints. It's amazing what you can, well, like what Denny did with the little thingy that you have over there. You water down acrylic paints and you can just paint over the top and over the top, and you can blend things.
So maybe we should save this, and then a few weeks from now you can paint it for us.
I don't know. But I like
I'm gonna
doing.
put that in my back pocket.
I like doing strange colored flowers. That's nice. And then, of course, by spraying something over the top of that as a resist, you can go over it with an antique. And man, I would encourage everybody to just do that. Figure out what doesn't work, and don't do that.
Right.
And keep trying to do the good stuff. So that's it for me. That's what I got.
Alrighty, guys. Well, if you just want to hang on a second, we will look at Denny's bees and butterfly and flower carving that he has been working on for the last few weeks. It's all done. I've got it right here, so we'll check that out, and then we can flip through this book real fast, and then we'll be out. So, all right. Well,
Okay.
thank you so much, Kevin.
You're very welcome. Okay, this
These
goes in
go-
those two little baggies. And let me make sure I don't have anything. Oh, whoops.
Oh, whoops. That's a Denny tool.
That's Denny's.
It's got red on it.
The rest of these go back in the rack thingy. And
All right.
this,
Is this your pencil?
no, that is,
It's the best saddle I ever did see.
I was trying to see if I could create a world record for spin. Nope. This goes back on somebody's desk. This is my tea.
That is your tea. Look
Oh,
at
I better. No.
You gonna sign it?
Yeah.
Sign it. Everybody says thank you, Kevin.
Oh, thanks for watching. That works.
Okay. You guys see that tiny little signature right there?
Hey, Loons. Be a good girl.
He used the stem as the back of his K. Ah, so pretty.
I'll see
Alrighty.
y'all later.
Thanks, Kevin. Look at that.
I didn't know I could talk that long.
I did. So we've got, this is Denny finished it up. It is 3-dimensional. I don't know if Abigail's posted it yet, but she does have a video of Denny putting this all together. He's got several layers of cardboard in here that are also cut in a hexagon shape, stacked up, and then he pushed the leather over the top of it, and he framed it upside down first, so then he had to reframe it, so it was fine. But anyways, look at that. Denny texted me this morning and he was like, Liz, I'll be back on Thursday. Because I told him since Kevin had the video today that he could get lost in St. Louis if he needed to. And apparently he did. So,
He's the king of getting lost.
he is. He's very good at it. Him and Mary June just, they get lost on a regular basis, which I think is fantastic. He deserves to get lost. Alrighty. Inverted Leather Carving by Al Stolman. So, this book has been folded in half for a long time. Nope, wrong way. There we go.
Is that like a book? Is that Kevin's book or is that just a book?
This is probably just a store book. It could be Kevin's personal book, but I just kind of consider everything that is Kevin's personally to be Springfield Leathers.
Those birds are cool.
Little hummingbirds. Those are some fun borders. I like inverted carving. I actually think I might like it. It kind of reminds me of,
I like it more than I like regular.
yeah, I like
that page right there.
the no backgrounding. Ooh,
Last
yeah.
year, that I had. The butterfly's cool too.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, look at that bird. I like birds. There's a turkey for somebody. Some crests. Getting into Oh, you've got your signs, your zodiac signs. Uh-oh. Alright, well, this is something in here, but I'm not going to open it because he's melded together at this point. So we'll just... You had a quick shooting bar competition. Oh, it reminds me of like a traditional tattoo style artwork. A dude in a canoe. Really what I feel like I'm getting from this particular book is just find images that are the correct position that you would like it, and then just take the outline. Take everything out from the center and then just take the outline. So if there's an image that you find, look at vector art on the internet, and you can just take out all the center stuff and use the outline. Look at these cars. Look at the phone. There was, when we were in Tucson, there was an onyx phone that was this style, but it was made out of like white onyx.
That's crazy.
I know, I was like, Chris, if we had a landline,
That would be awesome.
I would buy this phone.
We have a phone from what did Shan say, like 1940?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like her grandma's phone. It's still like in pristine condition too.
Nice. Yeah, my grandma had a rotary phone until she moved into a nursing home.
It's black and gold, so it's all classy. You never find the pages that are stuck together separate ones.
Well, it is getting to summer in the Ozarks, which means there'll be
Yeah,
plenty
we're
of
sitting
humidity.
outside for a minute.
There's our rose. All sorts of flowers. Ooh, look at those pine cones. That's fun. And that's it. That's the essence of inverted leather carving. Alrighty, folks, since Tony's not here today and I have to set up for live shopping on my own, no Twitch after party. So we are just going to scoodle doodle right on out of here. Whatever that is. Luna, say bye. Get the boogers off of your eyes. Say bye. Say bye.